Okay, good morning, everybody. We're here in Madison Square. It's a chilly November morning, and this is James West, and I'm here to take you on a little guided tour of a little tiny corner of Manhattan. And I'm going to just flip the camera around. Good morning, and this is James West. I'm here to explore some historical oddities of the city of New York. I've lived here all my life, and it's always fascinated me what's sort of things that you pass every day but you may not notice, and some kind of strange things maybe happening in the background. So we're here on the convergence of Broadway and Fifth Avenue. Fifth Avenue is over here. Sorry. Broadway is over here. And Fifth Avenue is to my right. Over there. And there's a tiny little segment of 25th Street that separates them. Anyway, we're here at the William Jenkins Worth Memorial. Obelisk that is quite tall. It was built in 18. Let's see if I can get a better angle here. It was built in 1857, and at that time, there was very little of the buildings, very few of the buildings that you see here were standing. In fact, I think you could safely say none of them were. It was a much lower and almost rural area of the city in 1857. So one of the oddities of this particular monument is that it's not just a monument, but it's also a tomb, as Major General Worth is in fact buried underneath the monument. And I've seen a couple of videos on YouTube about this place, but none of them mention that. So I thought I would catch you guys up and reveal the unusual fact that this is one of the two places in Manhattan where a famous or semi-famous or formerly famous person was buried. The other one being Grant's tomb. Neither are in a cemetery, and he remains here to this day. So the other thing is that there are all over this monument, and also the fact that it's an obelisk attests to the fact that he was a 33rd degree Mason, and there are a number of Masonic symbols all over the swords. You can see here the cross swords. Up over on the monument itself, let me zoom in a little bit. You can see the shield. It's a little hard for me to get a view because of this structure that's right to the left of me. But you can see there's an arm coming out of the crest holding a sword, and that is a definite giveaway that it's a Freemasonic symbol. So anyway, what is this structure over here that's ominously looming on the north side? With a surprisingly little amount of graffiti on it. So this was built in, I'd be speculating, but I think it was in the 1940s. And it has a bronze door on it, which clearly says no trespassing. And there are all kinds of locks on it. So, and the structure itself is sort of a semicircle, or part of a semicircle. And The reason it's here is that this is the access point to some of the major water mains in the city, which flow directly under here, and which also were built after the burial of General Worth. So, not sure how they did that. My understanding is that General Worth was buried, fairly not very deep into the ground, and that the water mains are considerably deeper. You can see sort of signs of the water main entrances here. This guy's standing. There are about 20 of these, and some larger openings. They're sort of randomly arranged. A few more over here. And these are all access points to one of the largest water systems in the world, which, like I said, it was, at this point, it was constructed after the Worth Monument was built. So, okay, so there's a couple of interesting facts about this place. One more that you might be interested to know is that you can see it's an obelisk. And the obelisk was another symbol that was of particular importance to the Freemasons. And there's another obelisk just north of here, a few miles, in Central Park, and it's called Cleopatra's Needle. Considerably older. It dates to, honestly, I'd be guessing, but I'm going to say 1500 BC. And it was shipped to New York City by boat. A very difficult undertaking, and it's standing in Central Park to this day. And there's a third obelisk that is down on Fulton Street in St. Paul's Chapel. And the three obelisks line up, according to legend. Now, I have to check that, and we're going to come back someday. And two things. I'm going to take a map out, find out if they really do line up. And then secondly, we're going to see if we can get into that door in the back and maybe get a guided tour of the waterworks below. I think that one's kind of unlikely, but who knows? If you're nice enough, someone might let me in. Anyway, so that pretty much wraps things up for here. I hope you found this interesting. If you did, like and subscribe below, and have a lovely day. Okay, good morning everybody. This is James West, and we're here on a mini tour of some of the sites of New York City. We're at the General Worth Memorial, which is at the intersection of Broadway, which is to my left, and Fifth Avenue, which is to my right. It's a small park. It's called the Worth Square. And so why are we here? So, okay, well, for one thing, very few people realize that this is not just a memorial, it's not just a tombstone, but it's an actual burial place. And General Worth is buried underneath here. The monument was put up in 1857. At that time, this whole area looked very different. None of the buildings that you can see right now were here. None of them. This was largely, there were buildings here, but they were mostly very small. And the city had not developed very much at that time. So Major Worth was originally buried in Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn, but his body was moved here, and it's here to this day underneath the obelisk. There are all kinds of Masonic symbols all over the monument itself. For instance, the swords and the shield, the fencing around it. It contains, and I'm not really even sure what these are, but they're like columns, but they're fairly ornate, and they have these small items at the bottom, like little round globes. Also, if you come around here, we're walking over to the 25th Street side, the north of the monument, and there is this kind of odd looking granite structure, and it has a door, and it says no trespassing, so that means I can't go in, but maybe someday, because underneath here is one of the major connection points for the entire water system of the city of New York. The water mains flow directly beneath here, and you can see, you used to be able to see more of them, but you can see some of the openings to the water mains over here. And the monument was put up way before the waterway was completed. You can see some of the, I know these may not be very interesting, but you can see some of the openings over here. There are actually quite a few of these little metal square pieces over here that are where you can access, well, you can't, but somebody can access the actual water mains underneath. So there's about 15 of these little tiny things, and here we can see a better view of the monument. And another interesting fact is that there are several obelisks in the city of New York. And this one on 25th Street is a line, supposedly. And I had to check this, and it'll be revealed in future videos. But there's an obelisk in Central Park called Cleopatra's Needle. I'm sure many of you have either seen it or been there. And there's another obelisk downtown in St. Paul's Churchyard, and it's for a man named Emmett. And apparently these three obelisks are lined up. Cleopatra's Needle, the Worth Memorial, and the Emmett obelisk. Emmett is not actually buried there. He's buried in St. Mark's in the Bowery, which is in the East Village. But, and why would they line up like that? I mean, what's the point? Worth was a Freemason, and there are all kinds of Masonic symbols on this monument. And for some reason, it was considered important back then to have the monuments line up.